Hi, Steve here with Steve Taylor Coaching, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why your need to label everything as either good or bad is sabotaging your recovery. So I wanted to start with a parable. So the parable is about this old wise man who's a farmer in ancient China, and he's got his little farm and it's just him and his son and his horse. And one day the son makes a mistake and the horse escapes. So the son is broken up about it, and he's really upset, and the neighbor comes and talks to the farmer. So the neighbor comes over and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so terrible. What are you going to do to survive?" And the wise old man shrugs his shoulders calmly and says, "I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know." The neighbor's like really confused. He's like, what's wrong with you? Of course this is a bad thing. You just lost basically everything you have. And the farmer just shrugs his shoulders, says, "I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing." Then a few days later, the horse that escaped comes back. And the horse comes back with some wild horses, a group of them. So the neighbor comes back, and the son is stoked because it's like, okay, great, now my mistake will be forgotten about. And the neighbor comes over, talks to the old man and says, "Oh, you must be so thrilled. Look what you can do with all these new horses." The farmer shrugs his shoulders, says, "I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Who's to say?" Some time passes, and the old man's son is breaking in one of the wild horses, and he falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And the neighbor comes back over again. The neighbor says, "Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? You rely so much on your son to farm the land. How are you going to survive?" The old man again shrugs his shoulders. I don't know, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Who's to say?" Some more time passes by, and the Chinese army comes through the villages, and they're gathering up every able young body to go off to a war. And this war is they're gonna have mass casualties. They're overmatched, and so they're grabbing up all the young boys, all the young men, but the old man's son can't go because he's got a broken leg. And so the moral here is that our ego and our desire to label everything as good or bad, it misleads us all the time. For those of us in recovery, most of us probably thought at one point while we were using that giving up drugs and alcohol, being clean and sober, would be like one of the worst things that could happen, right? But it ends up being the best thing. Or some of those consequences you had when you lost the job, or you got the DUI, or your partner left you. At the time, you probably thought, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that could happen." But that pain probably led you to some sort of change that took place, right? And so oftentimes these things that we think are the worst thing in our life that could possibly happen lead us to something positive. Our addictions that caused us so much pain are now such a source of strength where we can help somebody else who's been there, right? So that thing that we were, so ashamed about or caused us so much pain, then on the other side of it is a great strength to be of service and to be able to help other people. Some of this has probably happened recently with our global situation, right? Where maybe you lost a job, and I don't want to dismiss the importance of that, and we all need and deserve to make a living. But maybe that job wasn't really stimulating you. Maybe you were burned out at that job, right? Maybe it's leading you to starting your own business, to realizing more of your potential. Maybe that partner that left you, you can see that was really a good thing. Maybe you guys broke up before you had kids, and it got a lot messier, right? So there's always some sort of positive that we can take if we look at the situation, the ego wants us to be either the best thing in the world or the worst thing in the world. So whatever happens to us is either awesome, a tremendous blessing, or it's the worst thing that's ever happened, right? So probably some of us have gone on 2 dates and been head over heels, and this is the greatest thing ever, and that relationship, maybe it didn't work out, right? Or maybe something that started off really difficult ended up, being awesome for you, right? So don't be so quick to label something as good or bad, right? Doesn't mean that we avoid feeling our feelings. It doesn't mean that we avoid the reality of a situation, right? It's not like this naive, put our head in the sand like an ostrich and ignore the difficult things in life. But it simply means to challenge that thought that our egos give us, that this is automatically good or automatically bad. Because when it's automatically bad, we go into a state of victimhood, we go into a state of self-pity, and then we don't make changes. So be like the farmer. The moral of the video is be like the wise old farmer. So if this video has given you any value or you think it could help somebody, please like, share, subscribe, share it with somebody that you think would benefit from it, and check out my website if you are interested. If you're in North Carolina and are interested in more clinical type of counseling, you can view my website and contact me through there. Or if you are looking to really, overcome self-sabotage, take your recovery to the next level, maybe just kind of maximize some areas in your life where you're struggling to get over the hump, please feel free to email me, steve@stevetaylorcoaching.com, and I'd be happy to see what we can do. All right, see you next time.